Central Minnesota Sports Hub. It's the Morning Sports Desk, presented by Wadena's Pizza Ranch and Fun Zone Arcade. Available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts, and streaming on YouTube.
It is the Morning Sports Desk on a Tuesday, the 18th of February. I'm CJ Baumgartner, Corey Tackman over there. And Corey, this is the Morning Sports Desk powered by Pizza Ranch and Fun Zone Arcade in Wadena. And it still remains to be just incredibly cold out there.
I was over it like 2 weeks ago. I had to run to the gas station, and I was a couple weeks ago. I was putting gas in the car. I had to run in to I don't know, pick something up. I'm sure it was like a taquito or something like that. I was just calling my name that particular day, and that's when I realized I was like, I'm over it, and it wasn't this cold 2 weeks. Right. It was just like a nice, normal, late January, early February day. And let me tell you, I'm done. I think I'm done. It's gonna be warm this weekend. Holy buckets! Like 60 degrees warmer, to the tune of 60 degrees warmer, which is stupid. But it could warm up. Let's see, let me look at the temp right now. It is 15 below, which means it could warm up 40 degrees and still be below freezing.
You just love where we live.
It's so stupid.
Well, the good news is after this extreme cold warning goes away, we enter into another extreme cold warning tonight. So that's just great. So
yeah, right. Like the forecasters are like, you know what? 1 below 0 is enough to make the extreme cold warning go away.
Yeah.
You should be able to deal with 1 below 0.
Right. Go outside, send the kids out, let them play. Like,
ridiculous.
It's awful.
Anyway, life goes on.
Yeah, life goes on. There was a game last night in non-conference, non-section girls basketball last night. Sebeka Trojans of the Park Region Conference hosting the Parker's Prairie Panthers of the Little 8 Conference. Parker's Prairie in Section 6A. They're in the South subsection. Meanwhile, Sebeka, of course, in Section 5A West. And both these teams, it's kind of interesting. Both of them, talking with them pregame, playoff positioning is a big deal with this last week of the season, Corey. And it's like, you guys kind of have some wiggle room. Do you feel like you know where you're going? And both of them are like, yeah, no, we're both locked into the 5 seed. Like, they're both locked into 5 seeds. They both feel like they kind of know they know what seed they're going to be. They know likely what team they're going to play. And it's just a matter of getting yourselves as right as possible for the postseason.
Right.
And that's what these last couple games of the season are this week. And, for Sebeka, I know you covered a game of theirs earlier this season, and you mentioned they had 2 girls go out right at the beginning of the season, and that kind of stunted the things that they wanted to do this year. Because I know, talking with Coach Hano pregame last night, he was really excited about the team that they were going to put out on the floor this season, and it just couldn't come to fruition. And then he's like, then we started to get like in our groove. We started to figure things out. And then 2 more girls suffered season-ending injuries.
Yeah.
And it just, now, what would have been our, 7th and 8th girls on our team have now become our 5th and 6th. And everybody kind of has to go up that totem pole. And he's like, they've responded well. They've improved their game. They've played hard. Like, they've done everything we've asked them to do. We're just asking them to play out of position, or, we're asking them to hit above their weight a little bit for where they're at. And I'm paraphrasing what he said by that, but like, it's it's just they've had injuries, and they've had injuries to some key seniors. They've had injuries to a lot. So, and talking with Parker's Prairie Panthers head girls basketball coach Hunter Hagemiller, on the flip side for them, that's their first winning season that they've had in a few years now. It's the first winning season he's had as head coach of that program, taking over for Coach Noga. And their vibes are feeling, as good as they can be for this point in the year. He's like, we're doing things better than we have been the last few years. We have a lot of diversification in our scoring. We feel like we're doing the things we need to do to get ready. He's like, our conference is tough. Our section is tough. I mean, you have Hillcrest, Hancock, and Underwood all roaming around in that 6A. And it's tough to compete in that. And they have a nice team. And, maybe if they play in a different section, if they play in a different conference, maybe things look a little better or a little worse for them. But that's just kind of where they're at. And they They're a physical team. They played well on the boards. They shot really well from beyond the 3-point line. And it was about 9-9, Corey, throughout the first quarter of the game. And then Parker's Prairie went on about a 15-4 run and just kind of was able to get out in control. And they pretty much were at that about 9 to 16 point lead for the rest of the game. Sebeka in the second half, give them credit. They didn't lay down. They tried to muster a couple comebacks and they got it to within, it was like 17-point deficit. They got it to within single digits, but every time they did that, Parker's Prairie was able to counter with like a 6-0 run, or they were able just to counter with a big bucket immediately. Just to, it's just that it doesn't sound like much when you're talking about it, but when you're in the middle of the game, it's like, oh, okay, here we go. Sebeka's mounting a comeback, and then right on the other end, Ellie Cup puts in a bucket, and you're like, oh, as a Sebeka fan, you're just like, and that's kind of what basically was the key to success for them in that game. Fun game played by both sides, but obviously Parker's Prairie just a little bit healthy. They're healthier. They're a little bit more experienced right now with the girls they have out there on the floor, and we're able to come away with the victory. And both teams have to play their next game against Browerville Eagle Valley, which is funny. Parker's Prairie is playing them tonight, and Sebeka will be playing them on Thursday night. And then Parker's Prairie plays Henning to wrap up the regular season for them. So things are kind of getting into that point of the year, Corey, where you get to start to ask coaches about playoff positioning, and they can't tell you, it's too far away. We haven't really thought about that.
And you get right back at it again tonight. Conference boys basketball out of the Park Region Conference. Pillager at Wadena. Deer Creek boys buckets this evening. What's that one looking like?
So, taking a look quick at the Park Region Conference standings for boys basketball. I don't know mathematically. I haven't seen how many games teams have remaining, but I think Henning, if they haven't clinched it yet, I think probably just needs one more win to clinch the Park Region Conference title. Looking at the Park Region Conference after that, Pillager is in second place with a 10-2 record. And then Verndale and Wadena Deer Creek are tied for third place at 7-5. You have New York Mills at 6-6, Bertha Hewitt at 3-9, Sebeka at 3-10, Monaga at 1-12. But looking at our matchup tonight with Pillager and Wadena Deer Creek for the Huskies, they are 14-8 overall on the season. When you look at their points scored, they're averaging about 66 points per game and allowing 55. For Wadena Deer Creek, they are 8-14 on the year, 54.5 points per game, averaging scored, and 63.7 points allowed per game on average. For the Huskies, they play in Section 7 AA. They are 4-4 there, 8-1 on the road, 6-7 on their home floor. For Wadena Deer Creek, 1-5 in Section 8 AA, 7-5 in the PRC, 3-7 on the road, 5-7 on their home floor. For Wadena Deer Creek, they were able to get a victory on Friday night against Aiken, a 55-49 dub for them to get back in the win column. I know they beat Bertha Hewitt a couple games before, but really since kind of late January, it's been a little bit of a tougher kind of go for the Wolverine boys basketball team. On the flip side, for Pillager, they've won 3 out of their last 4, but they lost a close one to Duluth Marshall in Pillager on Saturday. They took on the Hilltoppers and lost 61-56. But before that, they stacked up some wins against New York Mills, Verndale, and Staples Motley to kind of get things going. For Pillager, they play Wadena Deer Creek tonight. They play Long Prairie Gray Eagle on Thursday, Sebeka on Friday, and then a week from Friday on the 28th, they play Moose Lake Willow River to wrap up the regular season. So outside of that season finale against Moose Lake Willow River, if you're Pillager, you have a chance to kind of get things going in the right direction to end the regular season. For Wadena Deer Creek, they take on Monaga, then they go to on Friday. Then next Tuesday, they go to Bagley, and then next Friday, they play Pine River Bacchus. So again, if you're Wadena Deer Creek, you can look on your schedule and say, hey, maybe there's a couple teams we feel like, we can try and pick off a win against and just try and get things going in the right direction. Because I think for most teams, and maybe it's different depending on your situation, Corey, most teams, even if they don't know quite exactly what seed they are or who they're going to play, you kind of already know what spot you're going to be in, and there's not much you can do to change it. So the last couple weeks of the season are always just kind of, okay, how are we going to fix the things that we need to fix to go on a postseason run? Or, okay, now it's time to figure out, hey, we're probably going to shorten the bench down by a man. Who, kind of who's making that rotation? How are the minutes going to be aligned? It's a lot of that stuff, just kind of getting things situated for the inevitable section playoff run that's coming up pretty darn quick.
Yeah, and teams would be doing that anyway. Like you get to February,
top priority now.
You get to February, and that's it's not about finding out who you are anymore. It's understanding who you are and embracing it and trying to maximize who you are the rest of the way. And that's where these teams are at. That's where the girls' teams that you saw last night are at and have been at. Final week of with the girls basketball regular season in front of us. So yeah, we're it's real now. It's all real. And of course we look ahead with section individual wrestling coming up. All those details, by the way, CJ, I know you've got stuff up at WadenaRadio.com, but make sure you're checking back every day at WadenaRadio.com, because we are now to that time of the year where every day there's being an addition put on that broadcast schedule and our high school coverage for whatever is happening. So, I mean, sometimes for that night. Right. So check back each and every single day, see what our plans are at WadenaRadio.com. We got a lot of stuff right around the corner here as far as high school sports go.
As Marshawn Lynch once said, it's getting real. It's getting real in the feel. You ever seen that? It's a video. It was like a decade now. It's on Conan. Marshawn Lynch and Rob Gronkowski, because it was the Patriots Seahawks Super Bowl, they were on Conan's show, and they just I think they played like Mortal Kombat together or something like that, or against each other, and Conan's just in the middle of it. And I think it's like one of the Mortal Kombat moves where the guy rips out his spine or something like that. And you just have Marshawn Lynch going like, it's getting real. It's getting real in the field. It's a great video.
I've seen that.
Go watch it. It's funny. Anyway, I don't need to tell you to go watch a Conan video, but
nope. No, you do not.
Well, I also don't need to tell you, Corey, say something nice about the Pizza Ranch and Fun Zone Arcade in Wadena.
Yeah, that I can definitely do. You can triple the fun when you triple your visits to the Fun Zone Arcade. Check this out. This is Fun Zone Rewards members. And if you're not one, you can become one very, very easily. Earn 1,000 free Fun Zone tickets when you play, buy, or reload that Fun Zone card 3 times by April 30th. How can you do this? Well, first of all, it's all listed on the Pizza Ranch and Fun Zone Arcade Facebook page, so I'd encourage you to check it out there. But you can earn this by playing your favorite games, by buying a new Fun Zone card, and by reloading the card that you already have. Yes, it is easy. You'll see on our picture here, if you're following along, by the way, Morning Sports Desk on YouTube, and shout out Pizza Ranch and Fun Zone Arcade for being able to provide us this opportunity. You'll see the QR code there. You'll see it on their Facebook page. Scan it, become a Fun Zone Rewards member. Yes, there are some stipulations. We'll let you read through those. But the Pizza Ranch and Fun Zone Arcade hooking you up with ranch rewards for your food and Fun Zone rewards for your fun. Check them out. Downtown Wadena, proudly a part of the Morning Sports Desk. We are proud to have them a part of this, and we just hope every single day, CJ, that they're proud to be a part of this too.
Part of me wants to say yes, part of me wants to say that it's begrudgingly, but we appreciate them all the same. Pizza Ranch and Fun Zone Arcade in Wadena. All right, Corey, let's talk a little state sports here. Branching out, obviously the NBA is on hiatus until the weekend. The NHL is continuing with their own stuff with the Four Nations face-off. And looking inward to the Minnesota Twins, they have some spring training stuff. Yesterday was, I believe, the final day where you had to report. Now, most position players had already showed up. It turns out if you're like Louis Varland, who's practicing and working out in St. Paul all winter. Oh, should I go to Florida a couple weeks early? What's that? It's -40. Yeah. Let's maybe go to Fort Myers like a week or two early. Let's just get that ball rolling. Something along those lines. So,
first full squad workout yesterday. They are now like pitchers and catchers reporting is like, I get it. It's the official start of it, but
it's like when rookies report to training camp, you know what I mean, in the NFL.
Now we're getting to it. Now we're into the fun stuff. We're going to get into the propaganda. We're going to get into into the better watch out for this guy, or what's going on with this guy, or ooh, this is a name you could be watching for September call. You know what I mean? This is where those stories begin.
The first kind of big news story with the Minnesota Twins coming into spring training, one is that Louis Varland does not want to go by Louis anymore. It is now Louis Varland. That is
okay. Cool.
So that is a change. Now it's spelled like obviously Louis, like St. Louis, but it depends, how you read that phonetically. It could be Louis, I guess, depending on your thing. So
yeah, that's what it probably always was, and people just pronounced it French. You pronounce that.
Yeah.
Louis.
So instead, he's going to be Louis Varland.
Well, maybe you're probably not old enough to remember this, but I remember a Twins season when it was Justin Morneau my whole life, and then one year it was like, no, it's actually Justin Morneau. The emphasis is on the first syllable. It's not Morneau, it's Morneau. Like, you've been playing for the Twins for.
Now is the time.
Now, okay. No,
he was just a Canadian. He's too polite,
I think that was the joke forever. All right, those darn Canadians.
Darn it. Speaking of Justin Morneau, him and Michael Kadire were at Twins camp as the ambassadors, because that's what everybody, the first couple weeks of spring training are all about inviting former players to show up and say a few words and wear the pants and just kind of hang out while they're doing drills. Morneau and Kadire were there. Rod Carew was there as well, getting a big introduction from bench coach Hank Conger. I believe he's bench coach. Either way, it doesn't matter.
Did they move him? He was over at first for forever.
Yeah, they've moved. Yeah, he's not first base coach anymore. They moved him to a different role.
Shout out Hank. I like Hank. I remember when he played.
How about former Twin Tommy Watkins?
What about him?
Yeah, third base coach.
Okay. I have fewer memories of Mr. Watkins.
I think he played like all of 5 games in a Twins uniform or something like that, just as like a waiver claim, like the early aught Twins. Anyway, so yeah, it's that point of the year. The biggest thing, if you look at the roster, no giant injury news yet, although I'm sure it'll come as everybody starts to kind of get their arms going more and more, is Rocco Baldelli said, because they talked about Ty France, and we kind of said, okay, Ty France will be a nice little kind of platoon addition. He'll kind of work with Miranda and maybe Julian, and they'll figure it out. And Rocco comes right out of the gate going, no, guys, I think right now, like, he didn't say it verbatim, but he very heavily implied, we're going to see a lot of Ty France at first base this year, which means kind of that there are 2 ways to interpret that. One, Ty France is going to be the Twins' opening day first baseman, and the Twins are planning on that going forward, and they'll figure it out from there. The other thing is, yeah, Ty France is coming in, and they're going to kind of put him as the number 1 option, but he's saying that as like a poke Jose Miranda, poke Ed Julian. Ty France is coming in, and he's going to start right away. So if you want to get that spot, that's the bar. You have to clear that bar. And Ty France signed a 1-year, non-guaranteed $1 million contract. So it's not like the Twins necessarily have the biggest confidence in him, like based on what the contract and the money say, which leads me to believe it's probably more of Rocco using that as early camp motivation for some of the younger guys. But like, Ty France is the veteran. We're giving him the benefit of the doubt early on, but Miranda and Julian, kind of step it up if you want to crack that first base spot.
I mean, the answer is both, right? The answer is both. Like this is the gamesmanship part of it. Listen, young fellas, play ball and get ready to roll, because this is not your position to just receive.
We're not just handing it to you.
We're not just handing it to you. You haven't earned it. You must earn it, because if you don't, I know we signed this guy to not a lot of money and for not a long time, but that dude's a pro and he's a former all-star not that long ago.
Right.
Like he's been an all-star since COVID. Like this is not a before COVID. You're right. That was not that long ago. So like, this is the guy that we can just hand it to and know that the position will be handled. Will he perform and will he play as well as Carlos Santana? No, probably not. That was a nice little perk, but they don't want that out of that position. They're willing to let you earn it, but they've also shown signing Santana, signing whatever this guy's name is.
Ty France.
Ty France, but it's pronounced Lewis.
It's pronounced Francais.
Yeah, right, exactly. So this is the gamesmanship. Go up and earn it. And if you don't, guess who our first baseman is? I have no issue with any of this. I think it's fun.
Yeah, exactly. And it's very early in camp. So anything, we could say all that and Rocco could mean it with 100% certainty. And then Ty France pulls an oblique running to first base in the 5th spring training game of the year. And Jose Miranda's the starting first baseman.
Right. That's all. That thing, the injury part of it is just
that just is going to happen. So,
right. It just goes without saying. But if everyone's healthy, it's good. Like you have to be better. It's that simple.
Right. Exactly. So that's pretty much the only news out of Twins camp this early. Other than that, let's talk a little Minnesota Vikings to wrap up the show today, Corey. So the Vikings, they announced this move early on Monday. We didn't have a chance to cover it on yesterday's show because we had a bunch of stuff to kind of cover. But Aaron Jones and the Vikings have basically agreed to kind of kick the void deadline of the contract down the road to the start of free agency or closer to the start of free agency. So the reason you would put, if you're Aaron Jones, you would want that in your contract is basically to have the Vikings make a decision on you early. So like, remember Aaron Jones got cut like right as free agency started last year because the Packers came out of nowhere, signed Josh Jacobs and then cut Aaron Jones. Like, so, and then that was a pretty quick turnaround. So if you're Aaron Jones, you're like, look, if you're not going to bring me back, I want to know so I can prepare myself for free agency. And the fact that him and the Vikings agreed to move that deadline to where the Vikings can have a little bit better cap situation. So the reason you have that is like the Vikings would move it down the road. One, to give Aaron Jones like a little bit, the reason you would do it essentially is for the salary cap reasons, because if you were to just say, no, we're not bringing you back, we're going to let this deadline pass, whatever, there's some certain cap hits, there's some certain things, whatever. The reason that you move this is probably because it's just going to give you a couple more weeks to see if you want to sign an extension or at least re-sign with the Minnesota Vikings. And obviously it's just procedural, so there's not a guarantee that works out. But I think the biggest thing is, Corey, would you be opposed to Aaron Jones coming back for a second season in Minnesota?
No. Next question is that I thought you were going to ask me a more controversial question than do I want Aaron Jones on my football team? Of course, that guy was nice.
Would you sign Okay, let's play this game. Would you sign Aaron Jones to a 1-year contract?
Yes.
Would you sign him to a 2-year contract?
How old is he?
30. I believe he's hit 30. Let me double check. Aaron Jones is 30, and he turned 30 on December 2nd. So he'd be 30 years old coming into this NFL season.
I mean, is it like a 1-and-1 kind of a thing? Does the NFL do that?
What they would do is they would do a 2-year contract and they would kind of finagle it like salary cap wise to basically it's a 1-year deal that the Vikings could cut, but they give a lot of the money to Jones up front or something.
I would do that. I would have no issue if they did that.
The penalty of that, and you're right, I would sign up for something like that. The only downside of that would be if he regresses and then is just like Dalvin Cook towards the end where it's like you cut him and now you kind of have to deal with some salary ramifications. It's why, by the way,
that's why you pay him. That's
right.
Why you do it that way.
Right. Exactly. To where you can, or you kind of push the dead cap into the future or you push into the future and stuff like that. It's why and I don't need to get into a Sam Darnold conversation now because I don't want the show to be super long, but that's for another day. But it's why potentially with Sam Darnold, the Vikings would maybe sign him to a 3-year contract. And it's not because Sam Darnold's going to be the Vikings quarterback for the next 3 years. What it is we are going to sign you to this contract, which will get you here for 1 year. You're going to make a lot of money, but after this first year, it's a very tradable contract. We're using this, this 3-year deal to give you financial security for 3 years, but also it gives us financial flexibility. One, for the salary cap, we can move his cap hits down the road so you can still sign free agents this year, so you can still do whatever. And the other thing is if we want to trade that contract, it's not like a poison pill like the Deshaun Watson or Russell Wilson contracts or something like that where you have to take your medicine with it. So that'd be kind of the thing. So I guess
do that. I mean, I know you don't want to have a Darnold conversation, but this is worth a follow-up. We're in the franchise tag zone now over the next couple of weeks. Isn't the franchise tag the more likely option?
It could be. That part could be. The only thing is, there's a couple things. The thing with the franchise tag is if the Vikings are planning on having Darnold back this year and want a little more financial flexibility to go get free agents this year, then signing him to a 3-year deal would give you a little bit more financial flexibility to go get free agents in this coming free agency cycle. If you don't care and you're like, we'll take our medicine one more year and we'll figure it out and we'll play it to next off season, then yeah, you sign him to the franchise tag. You just pay the thing is then you have to pay all that money this year and it goes against the cap. And if you want a way to maybe play the salary cap game a little bit, that's why you would do it. But yes, the franchise tag is still on the table, I think.
Yep.
So anyway, all right. I think that's with Aaron Jones. The other thing too is like, I know you said 2 years kind of the 1-and-1. So 3-year deal is probably obviously out of the table. I mean, nobody's signing a 30-year-old running back to a 3-year deal.
No. And I mean, obviously what's the number, right? Like what did he sign? What was his deal with the Vikings last?
I believe he made like somewhere between 6 to 8 million.
Do that again. Or like 2 for 10 or something. You know what I mean? 2 for 11, 2 for 12. I don't.
Right. And it depends what Jones thinks he's worth too. If he's like, hey man, I just took a 1-year prove it contract. I proved I'm still good. I want more than 6 million, like then or I want like 9 million or something like, you know what I mean? Like it could get to that point.
The Jones and the Darnold thing's tied together though, because if you franchise Darnold, is Jones a goner?
I don't think so.
If you give Darnold a 3-year deal that makes it cheaper presently, can you then also give Jones a 2-year deal? Like it allows you to give him just a little more money up front too, right? Like
I think
things are Darnold happens first, right?
Yes, the quarterback figuring that out will be, and that I think too is why they push that void date back, right? It's like we're gonna figure something out with Dalvin. Jeez, just said his name. We're gonna figure something out with Aaron Jones. Don't figure something out with Dalvin Cook. Don't bring back Dalvin Cook.
I can help that Dalvin Cook conversation along right now if you want me to. You want me to? Should we do this?
Do you want? Will you sign Dalvin Cook to a 1-year contract?
No.
How about a 2-year? 3-year?
No.
Somebody should have told Rick Spielman that back in 2019. All right. But yeah, I mean, that's the thing too with Jones, like pushing it back is like it basically just gives them more time to think about Darnold because that's the first domino that has to fall. And the thing about setting up a 3-year contract or a 2-year contract or whatever, it like anything, it takes 2 to tango. Like you have to have Jones or Darnold and the representations playing ball and wanting to do that. It's why, like signing Darnold to a 3-year deal sounds great in theory, but if you're Sam Darnold and you're like, no man, the Raiders are going to pay me like $60 million a year for the next 4 years. Why would I I'm going to go there. Tom Brady works there now. Like I'm going to go to Vegas, or I'm going to go to the Giants, or I'm going to go to if you're Sam Darnold, you are under no incentive to take a team friendly deal, even though he probably would have better numbers playing another year with the Vikings, but the Vikings also have JJ McCarthy waiting in the wings. So you've proven everything you need to prove here. Go get your bag and go figure it out. That was the plan all along. And if you're the Vikings, it's just, McCarthy's meniscus injury kind of plays into this, because if McCarthy was just healthy all year and sat the bench, they probably just let him go. And they don't think anything of it. But it's the fact that you just want to make sure he's healthy week 1.
There's things that it's that injury and that Darnold was just straight up awesome.
Exactly.
Like you add those two things in, and it's a pretty nice problem for the Vikings to have.
Exactly. So anyways, there's our halfway Sam Darnold discussion here today. So we'll have the full conversation later as the combine gets closer. The combine is really when we'll start to know stuff, because that's when all the agents and all of the GMs and coaches are in the same city, in the same building, they're all drinking at the same bars that night. They're all chatting. That's when reporters are there to get everything. That's when we'll really start to know things about free agency. Until then, it's all hearsay. So anyway, this has been the Morning Sports Desk, powered by Pizza Ranch and Fun Zone Arcade in Wadena. See you tomorrow.
Powered by Wadena's Pizza Ranch and Fun Zone Arcade. Follow the Morning Sports Desk on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. And watch every show on YouTube.